All right, so we're here. We're back. This is back-to-back today. You guys just finished with Damian Pardo. But first, we want to say thank you to our water sponsor.
Very important.
Kiran.
Very important.
Nariz.
And it's not because of anything, it's delicious water.
It is delicious water. And there's no microplastics.
España.
Which I was watching some stuff yesterday online that there's microplastics everywhere. It's really bad.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. I always feel like we have good episodes, but this is a legendary episode.
This is a good one. I get excited with podcasts.
Yes.
This is a good one.
As excited as you were with Jeremy Piven?
I would. I'm not gonna get into that right now.
So today we have Elliot Rodriguez.
Hey guys.
Now from CBS, 40-year journalist. Okay?
Right.
CBS anchor. CBS anchor.
Elliot, for that random person who doesn't watch TV and lives under a rock,
Yeah.
let them know a little about yourself and who you are.
Oh yeah, I'm glad to do it. First of all, thank you for inviting me. I love what you guys are doing. I love your podcast because you talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is Miami, living in Miami. I've been here a long time. I love this place. I wouldn't want to live anywhere.
Let me tell you, I guess I get goosebumps for you to say
That's amazing.
that you love our podcast.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
Really coming from you, that's very high honor.
And the water's not bad either.
That's very high.
We're gonna have to get Elliot a sponsorship with the waters too now.
All right, so
We got him hooked on a lot of stuff. We're gonna talk about
later we'll talk about pickleball.
Yeah.
That's one of my passions. Anyway, I work at CBS News Miami. I anchor the newscast at 5 p.m., 6 p.m., and 11 p.m. I've been doing this a long time.
Yes, you have.
By the gray hair, and I had a lot more hair when I started. Actually, this month, it's May, will mark 45 years since I first walked into a television station to work, and that was May of 1980. Remember that month, May of 1980. I walked into WTVJ. I had been hired by a man who was legendary, an icon, Ralph Rennick.
Of
was
course,
the anchor man back then.
Yep.
The old timers will remember Ralph, and they took a chance on me. They hired me. They actually called me and offered me a job at a TV station. And at the time, I was a newspaper reporter. I was working at the Miami News.
Okay,
Which also old timers will remember. Miami News was an afternoon paper, just a fun, racy paper with a big, tabloid headlines, but a really good newspaper.
When newspapers were newspapers.
It seemed like everybody back then read the newspaper. Yeah. So I was a newspaper reporter. I went to college. I went to University of Miami. I studied print journalism. My goal in life at the time, remember this was 1978, was to be an investigative reporter.
Wow.
It was the time of Watergate, All the President's Men, and I read the book, watched the movie. I said, that's what I want to do. I want to be a reporter at a newspaper. So I was working at the Miami News when one day I got a call from WTVJ. They said, hey, would you like to work in television? I said, television? I don't know anything about television. I'm a print guy. They said, no, we've seen your work. We think you would do well. And then, by the way, we're going to pay you this amount, a lot more than I was making.
Yeah.
So
where do I sign up?
I'm down. So I showed up, and I started working, covering a big court case at the time. And my first live shot was horrific. It was terrible because they told me, oh, don't worry, we're going to train you. Don't worry. And that was the biggest lie.
Right. You know what training was? Get in front of the camera.
Right. It's like the checks in the mail, all those other.
Yes, of course.
They didn't train me. So after that horrific live shot the first time, I came in and I said, are you guys sure you want to keep me here? I was terrible. I had a good job as a newspaper reporter, and I'm okay going back to that. And they said, no. We made a mistake. We threw you out there too soon. So we are going to spend some time. And actually, the photographers were very helpful, and they helped me. So I worked at WTVJ for about 3 years, and then I got another job offer in Philadelphia. So I left Miami for 5 years. So 5 years I was in Philly, and there I got a lot of experience reporting, and they gave me my first chance at anchoring. I was the morning anchor in Philadelphia. But missed Miami.
Well,
I was in Philly.
Especially in the winter.
Dude, I would drive to Union City, New Jersey to get Cuban coffee. And I really loved Philadelphia. I have a really warm spot in my heart for it. But I miss Miami. Once you're here, I think once you live here, Ralph used to say, you have sand in your shoes. Like once you get here, you have sand in your shoes. You're stuck with it. You want to come back. So I came back and I worked at Channel 10, WPLG with Ann Bishop and Dwight Lauderdale during those days in the 90s. And then
You don't remember that?
I remember Dwight Lauderdale.
Okay.
Of course.
and
You
then-
don't remember Ann Bishop?
No, that one. No. But Dwight Lauderdale, he's still on or no?
No, Dwight is happily retired.
Yes.
Happily retired. Hopefully he'll
Dwight.
listen to this podcast. He is still the number one Heat fan. So he's living in Central Florida.
What an elegant guy.
Yeah.
What an elegant guy. I remember him.
Smooth as glass.
Smooth as-
So I learned by watching these people. And then I left Channel 10 in 1999, and I've been at CBS since then. So I've been there now. It's been 26 years. It's been a long run. It's been a long run.
That's amazing.
You know,
That's amazing
right
career.
now I laugh because, you know, Ed and I, we chat and say, okay, so what the hell do you prepare for Elliot Rodriguez?
Yeah.
You know, what do you do to sit down to talk to, you know, and I know some people don't like that word, but really, you're a legend in
No,
the field
100%.
here in Miami. I grew up, you know, watching you. When you're talking about these people like Ann Bishop or anything, I was in junior high. But at the same time, you know, what do you ask a person like you? And you just described, like, you know, a whole bunch of stuff that I'm saying, wow, you know, the things that you have seen in your career. I mean, have you ever thought about, I don't know, a book? Have you thought about, you know, life through a book of, you know, life through a TV anchor in Miami?
Well, you know what?
A Netflix series.
I'm giving you a title already, which I want 5%. But anyway, at the end of the day, you know, a life through the lens of a news reporter. Because think about it, the things that you just mentioned, okay, that you're a Miami person. You graduated from UM.
I graduated first from LaSalle High School.
There you go.
A shout out to all my LaSalle
Spectacular.
Royals out
Yeah.
there. And then I went to Miami-Dade College.
Great.
I was the first
Awesome.
person in my family to go to college.
Wow.
So I went to Miami-Dade because that's where everybody was going.
Yeah.
It was like, not with my daughters. When my daughters graduated from high school,
Always having
I was
two.
taking them on college visits. My parents didn't do that.
Yeah.
You know,
You know, I feel that this could be a podcast for 5 hours because when you're talking about so many subjects that we just talked about this 2 days ago with a whole bunch of friends, you just hit it right now in the sense of now it's like this thing of like, okay, the college tours and everything, but me growing up also, nobody in my friends group, nobody was saying, everybody was like, high school, Miami-Dade.
Right.
And then from Miami-Dade, now you decided, okay, half of my friends, I went to St. Thomas, a lot of people went to FIU, to elsewhere, but that was the thing. No existía that thing that you're talking about. Oh, the college tours. What college tours are we going to?
well, let me throw a little praise over to Miami-Dade and Madeline.
100% what they're doing.
Going to Miami-Dade for me was the best thing that could have happened.
For me too.
Because when I went to Miami-Dade, and they took me on because in high school I was involved in the high school newspaper. I always wanted to be an artist. That's what I really wanted to be. Because when I was a kid, we would draw comic figures. You know, we would collect Marvel comic books, and we would draw. And I was always the best one. I could look at something and draw it. So I thought in my mind, I want to be a commercial artist. So I worked in the student newspaper at LaSalle as the cartoonist, and then in Miami-Dade, they called me up from the paper and said, listen, we'll actually pay you a little bit of money. And they gave me a partial scholarship to Miami-Dade, which wasn't a lot. And the advisor to the newspaper, Mario Garcia, Cuban guy who grew up in Miami, he was the advisor, and he was my mentor. And I didn't realize this until later on, that what was going through my mind to me was I was saying, if this guy, who's a Cuban guy just like me, grew up in Miami, you know, he's got an accent, and he was able to be a journalist, I can do it. If he can do it, I can do it. And he mentored me. And after Miami-Dade College, I went to University of Miami. And right after graduating from the University of Miami, I was unemployed for 1 week. So I got a job as a reporter. So I was able to follow my dream. I was able to get the job that I was looking for in school.
Yeah. So going back to that, you've seen the landscape of media change dramatically in 45 years. Okay, from original print paper that was very popular to now podcasting and even individual influencers, you know, that present the news. How is it that you feel of how do you feel like that's left out traditional media, or did traditional media take the right approach and embracing it, you know, or did they kind of like get blindsided by it?
Well, I think we in traditional media realize the power of podcasting and the power of social media, and we're trying to play that game as well. I don't think that we've really come up with the right way to do it, because I see my stories that I do for our newscast, I see people then post them in social media and they get thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of views. So our work is being shared. Our work is being seen,
True.
But not in the traditional sense. It's not like before, when we were growing up, you sat at home, turned on the news at a certain time. Now people want news on demand, on their phone. And I do the same. I find myself doing the same thing too. So we have to adapt ourselves to be more out there. One of the reasons I'm here to tell the audience that we're still doing good work at CBS Miami. We do have a presence on social media, and we do understand the power of what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I think the situation becomes, it's just kind of the how fast someone can get to it, right? So you have pages on Instagram where a video sent in of an accident or whatever the case is, and it's immediately being shared,
right?
And the news is pushing it at 5 or 6 or 7 p.m. where it's kind of like, well, I already saw that,
Right.
And I guess it's hard to have the resources to go send people out for lives all day long, so
the thing that you have to keep in mind is when you're seeing that video shared almost instantaneously, you don't know how that has been vetted. Has
Correct.
anybody given any looked into exactly what's going on?
Yeah.
Who posted it? And I'm a traditional journalist, and we have meetings. We sit around tables like this, and we discuss stories. What's the right way to do it? What's the wrong way to do it? We fact check.
100%.
We check sources.
Yeah.
So that's traditional media.
Right.
And I think that's still important because there's so much misinformation out there, false information out there, that when you get news from a trusted media source, and I like to think that we are a trusted media source. I've been working in this market for over 40 years. There's a difference. So, sure, watch stuff, on social media, but it's not always going to be 100% reliable.
Yeah. And that's a great point, because I think that everybody needs each other. Yes. I think that the social still needs the traditional, and the traditional needs the social. Because maybe the traditional picks up something that the social picked up and say, hey, let's look into this right now. And then your producers and everybody can sit down and say, okay, let's do some, fact checking immediately. Let's get it on the air right now at 5 or 6 because it's important. So I think, we complement each other, per se.
100%.
Yeah. Because in what I keep on saying with the fact of why we came up with the podcast and why we did our page with A Day in Miami was a lot of people want to know what's going on in A Day in Miami. And it just doesn't have to be about a politician. We like to bring up normal stories of anything that happens. When you look at legacy media, or you look at traditional media, we look at the stuff that, it's really happening right now. But maybe some good story that came out that we really can't report on it because there was 3 burglaries, there was a shooting. So then, because of the time constraint, we can't report that in legacy media. So we wanted to say, okay, let's start talking about some other stories, areas of restaurants, stuff like that are opening up. Yeah. To your point when you said, why do I like the podcast? Because you talk about Miami and everything that has to do with Miami. So then my biggest point is, I think that you're 100% in what you're saying. You got to fact check certain things, but that's the great thing that I think that what this new dynamic is working. It pushes one to do the other, and the other to push to do the other, and vice versa. If that makes sense to you.
Totally. I'll tell you something though. I think this opportunity gives you long form content. So it gives you a chance to explain, what's going on and going deeper into a topic. We get a lot of comments, believe it or not, that we don't push back hard enough. As like traditional journalists, when we have politicians here, we're like, we're not 60 Minutes. Right. We're allowing people to come in, and just talk and express themselves, and you guys can go and make of what you believe from there. Now, I do believe and I do feel that national media channels, right, have done a disservice to the brand of legacy media compared to local media channels. Because I talked to Belkis, and local channels are very they're on point. They're not pushing any narrative. They're just kind of promoting what's out there. But you see stuff like now with the national chains, and you can see an example with the whole Biden, his cognitive decline. And now you look back, 4 years, and everyone's like, well, nobody was talking about this where the regular people were. Right. I kind of wanted to get your opinion on how that has affected how people see the news now.
I think you bring up a good point, because the surveys that I've seen show that people trust local media more than they do national network news. And I think that's sad. I think that the networks have to work on that. And, I work in local news media, so I'll take that as a pat on the back.
100%.
Well, I mean, but to Eddie's point is because you're here, so we call that in Spanish. You have the pauta of a pueblo.
Exactly.
You have the pulse of the community of what's going on. So it's like, why don't these national correspondents say, hey, let me talk to our anchor and our affiliate and say, what are you guys getting? To Eddie's point, what are you guys getting from your city? Well, I mean, everybody says that. The guy, whoever you're supporting, doesn't matter. This guy looks a little crazy. This guy looks a little bit mentally declined. But you're getting, that feel from the community, which is important.
Does national news communicate with you guys, with local news at all?
We do. CBS does a pretty good job of that, I would say, but they could do better. They could do better because, like you say, we live here. This is my city.
Correct.
This is my community. And I'm in touch with people. If they don't like a story, they're letting me know. If they do like it, and they have follow-ups, that's what journalism is all about. I mean, and the bottom line is that we're here to serve the community. And that shows up when we have a big story like a storm that's coming.
Yeah,
I would like to think that that's when people rely on us to give you the latest information on what's going on in our community, because we live in the same.
Would you say that's like your Super Bowl, like hurricane season?
We don't want to call that the Super Bowl.
Everyone's at home, shutters in with food, watching the news.
Let me make it perfectly clear. I wish there were no storms this season.
Yes.
Having been through Andrew, having been through
I had a question about that here.
All of these storms. If I never see another hurricane in my life, I'll be a happy man.
And again, this is why this is so fascinating to me, because these are the things that I love. Miami history for me is number one, and being with a historian like you, it's even better. What is it? A lot of our viewers, we have every type of age group, but nobody really understands sometimes when I talk about certain things, when I talk about like restaurants or places you go to, clubs when I was growing up here, or how politics was in that time, nonpartisan in my time. Could you what was it? Could you explain to people what was the hit when Hurricane Andrew came to this community? What how it changed Miami, because I think we had not gotten the coverage like we did in other past. Because my parents would tell me, listen, I went through this hurricane in Florida and all these other stuff that I wasn't even around, but Andrew was the one that really got on the map of what a hurricane damage could do.
Well, we have to remember that when Hurricane Andrew hit in 1992, in August of 92, it had been many years since we had a hurricane hit us. So people back then were still putting tape on the windows.
Did you imagine? Duct tape.
We
I
didn't
put
know.
tape on my apartment windows.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Hi, Elliot.
No,
Now I got shutters and
Yeah.
I got glass.
Yeah.
So people hadn't been through a hurricane. They didn't know the power of a hurricane. And Andrew literally bulldozed South Miami-Dade, Homestead, Florida City, parts of West Kendall. I was just talking to somebody the other day who said, I live in Cooper City and we survived Andrew. I said, no, you didn't go through Andrew.
No, at all. You weren't country walk.
You were not country walk.
You were not
It
country
was
walk.
like a lawnmower came and just leveled.
It was a war zone.
Leveled everything.
It was a war zone.
And one of the things that I discovered after Andrew was how much people in Miami care for their neighbors. That's when the best part of Miami comes out, or the best part of South Florida. People coming out, helping their neighbors, doing whatever they can do. How many people out there don't know their neighbors and they get to meet them when there's a storm?
100%.
I would go in my previous neighborhood. I never got a generator. I just didn't want to deal with it because I'm going to be at the station anyway. I don't need to get that.
Right.
But I always knew I can go to my neighbors across the street and get my cup of coffee in the morning.
There you go.
When there was no electricity.
Somebody had gas.
Yes.
Somebody had gas. Not an electrical stove, but they had a gas stove.
And they're happy to share it with you.
100%.
And that was one of the bright spots of Andrew. We also learned about insurance. How much insurance do you need to do?
Yes.
Is the insurance company going to be there for you when a storm hits? You have to go through your insurance paperwork, do a checkup before hurricane season begins to know what do you have covered, what don't you have covered, and what could this possibly cost you?
You know, it's so good you say that, because how many people did not even read a policy at that time?
Never.
How many people did not even know of, like, oh, I have a mortgage and you have to have an insurance policy? Nobody knew, because you never went through that. And then all of a sudden you get hit with this. And I tell you from my experience, I mean, I was younger and everything, but I was with my sister and we had to deal in our house, and we had to get policies and go and read it, and now go meet with representatives from the insurance company. So it's like, look at the whole thing that Hurricane Andrew changed in everybody's perspective.
Not only did it change, it also changed where people live. That's when people flooded out of Miami-Dade, South Miami-Dade, to Broward County. Yeah. So Broward County grew exponentially. West Broward grew exponentially after Hurricane Andrew. There were refugees from South Miami-Dade who got their insurance money and said, I'm getting out of here. Well, this is never going to be rebuilt.
They also had to update building codes and roofing codes and all that. Everything.
We ended up with one of the best
to this day
building codes in the country.
Yes.
Yep.
That's another positive thing about it.
But again, we bring these things up because, again, I mean, our viewers, to listen to this from you, I mean, it's like, imagine, you being in that helicopter and seeing that whole site of Hurricane Andrew. I mean, it looked like really, like a bomb, just,
But you were doing lives at Hurricane Andrew time, or you were in the studio?
Remember, there was no power.
What time? What station were you during Hurricane?
During Hurricane Andrew, I was working at WPLG Channel 10.
Okay.
And I was a reporter, and I'll share the story with you. I was in San Juan, Puerto Rico, for my friend Jorge Ramos, who worked in Univision, for his wedding.
Oh, yeah, wow.
The weekend of Hurricane Andrew, and there were a lot of journalists there. And all of a sudden, the wedding was Saturday, and then on Sunday, everybody was scurrying around. There's a storm coming to Miami. So we got on the next flight out of San Juan.
Yeah.
And I went to my home in Coral Gables at the time. And I never forget that night. I could hear the stop sign outside my house just rattling the whole time. So I had that noise. Luckily, where I was not hit hard. But once we were out on the road covering, you just came across devastation everywhere. And the further south you went, the worse it got.
That's crazy.
It actually took us like 2 days to get down to Homestead.
Yeah.
No way.
And also there was no power at the time. So a lot of people were getting our newscasts on the radio.
100%.
Yeah, over the air.
Got you.
And so that's a partnership that we had at the time with radio stations. Now we need to do partnerships with people like you with social media and podcasts.
Yeah, we would love nothing more. Would you say that is the biggest story you've covered? Or do you feel like in your history you've covered bigger stories?
No.
I mean, I have a couple here. The Panama invasion?
Yes.
You say that'd be the biggest story?
No, I would say that the story that had the biggest impact on me was when I went to Cuba.
Okay.
Fidel Castro's
And
death?
that was in what's that?
Fidel Castro's death? No.
No, I did cover Fidel Castro's death.
I remember.
No, but the first time I went to Cuba was in the early 90s when after the fall of the Berlin Wall, and the Cuban government was relying on tourism and they were trying to get more tourists to come in. I flew into Cuba with a female photographer as a couple. And we flew into Santiago de Cuba and spent a day there just interviewing people. And it was at a time when there was no news coming out of Cuba. And people were like wide-eyed, wow, and actually saw it for themselves and saw the lines and me talking to people. And eventually I got to meet my family in Cuba.
Crazy.
And I grew up thinking that I was part of a small family. It was just my mom, my dad, my sister, and me. But actually, my father had 6 brothers and sisters. So I was part of a big family. The only difference was that they stayed behind.
But did Dad ever tell you this? That he had brothers and sisters?
I knew it, but we
never talk about it?
No, we were
in
small.
Cuba.
Yeah, they were in Cuba.
Yeah.
I never had any contact with them.
Yeah.
I never knew them. And that's when I met them and I was able to establish that connection.
First cousins.
My family's from Regla. It's a little pueblecito, outside Havana. And I have a big family there. And I'm like, oh, wow. It's not just the 4 of us. I have that big family. So that had the biggest impact on me.
But so you came back with that footage, and then how did the people here?
Yeah,
see
we
that?
ended up doing a half-hour special. It was called Ticket to Cuba. I won an award for it,
I remember it.
and it was awesome.
I remember it.
It was awesome.
I gotta check that out.
I remember that completely. I mean, listen, that was that's I think in everybody's mind. What other things have you covered that really made an impact on you? But I mean, again, Cuba, I can imagine, because you were born in Cuba.
No, I was born in New York.
You were born in New York, so like.
But both my parents are Cuban.
Correct.
We're Cuban.
So Cuban. I wasn't born in Cuba. I was born here. But again, never went back to Cuba. But I say that same thing. I think I would be impacted with that. And it's funny you say that story, because there's a gentleman that I spoke to yesterday. He's Argentinian, and he called me for something else. We're talking. He goes, by the way, just came. You're not gonna believe where I came from. I go, from where? I went to Cuba. I go, really? He goes to me, wow. I have come back like in an awe of how beautiful Cuba is. He goes, I can only imagine what it was, 50 years ago and 60 years ago, because still there's some areas that he said, that are still, some are in ruins, but he said you can see the landscaping, the places, and he said he was so impressed with it. And it took him back. He goes, listen, I had never been, and I just stayed in an awe of how it
Well,
looked.
I'll tell you guys, I was born in New York. I was not born in Cuba. But when people ask me, what are you?
Cuban.
I always say I'm Cuban.
Yeah, same thing.
I grew up in a household only speaking Spanish. My parents, very, very Cuban.
Yeah.
And it was part of our culture. It's part of my heritage. It's who I am. So if people ask me, what are you? The short answer is I'm Cuban. If you want to know my history, I'm Cuban American. I was born in New York City.
Right.
My wife is Puerto Rican. That's fine. But the short answer that I give, I'm Cuban.
Yeah, I do the same thing. My wife is Colombian, from Colombia, and she tells me, you're not Cuban, you're American. And I'm like, yeah, but I grew up in a Cuban household, etc. To the point that I went to Cuba in 2018. And it was a surreal experience going over there. It's not like any of these South American countries or anywhere else you travel. The food is not good as they tell you it is, unless you go to the hotels, but if you're on the streets, it's not like, you're eating a pan con lechon and you're eating like the ligaments and the cartilage and stuff like that. The pan con lechon. I'm not even lying to you.
Whatever can be found.
Wi-Fi,
and we're thinking it's the cartilage, everything from a lechon.
Wi-Fi is all in like one area. You have to go for the internet. What he was saying earlier, buildings are in ruins.
Right.
They haven't been taken care of.
They're falling down,
falling apart. But you know what I noticed? Everyone, for whatever reason,
happy
is still fucking happy.
That's
like hanging out all day.
That's what I love most about Cuba is the people.
Yep.
The people, their resilience. They will share whatever they have. They'll share with you.
Yep, they will.
I've worked there as a reporter. They invite you into their house. They'll talk to you. They'll go only so far. They're not going to have a debate with you about their system of government, but they'll protest about, they're not keeping up the streets. There's not enough food, things like that, the prices of everything. And if you think it was bad in 2018, it's got to be
after COVID is worse.
Much, much worse now. Because COVID hit them hard, and then the sanctions.
No, I have family that's crossed the border. Like they tell you, yeah, we're here. I'm like,
So I continue hammering with the fact of the history of Miami with you. Tell me, what did you feel, covering the 80s in Miami when everything started hitting here with the whole fact of like
cocaine cowboys,
the whole thing of how the Mariel boat lift, I had family that came in Mariel, and I was one of those people in family's house waiting until they were going to get picked up. But you see all these documentaries, you read all these books, and they paint Miami how it was a gangster, a Wild Wild West situation here. How can we say, how can we view through the eyes of Elliot Rodriguez the 80s of the whole thing of what they used to call the marimbero years here of the 80s? Did it do something for Miami? Did it help it, or did it really kill the whole vibe of what Miami was?
Well, let me tell you, Scarface was not that much of an exaggeration.
Wow.
There you go. Imagine.
There you go.
What was interesting in the 80s was that so many people had money, and you weren't really sure
where it was
came from. And you know what? You didn't ask. It was a crazy time. Remember, I started in TV May of 1980.
Okay.
May of 1980 was the year of the Liberty City riots.
Yeah.
that left 18 people dead and $100 million of damage in Liberty City. It came after the Arthur McDuffie verdict, which people will remember. May of 1980 was also right smack in the middle of the Mariel boat lift when 125,000 Cubans came here, and Jimmy Carter said, we'll take them with open arms and open hearts. And we were invaded by a lot of people, including some of my own family members.
My father came in the boat lift.
Who went on to become great citizens and contributing residents of this community.
We just had a 45-year anniversary in the casino in Mariel, and there was a lot of Marielitos there. Successful people. I saw this last Saturday.
That's right.
45-year anniversary that they did.
But at the time, it was just earth-shattering to have that many people come in. And Castro did send a lot of bad people on that boat lift. It was a small minority, but they were there, and they did cause havoc here in Miami. So the murder rate went up. We also had the cocaine cowboys. And I'll never forget interviewing a homicide detective who told me, hey, Elliot, now during the holidays, you're going to be covering more murders because they try to clean up business before they go back.
No way.
Could you imagine?
That's crazy, man.
Could you imagine that? I mean, that's fascinating. But I really think that, all that put Miami on the map, because everybody was like, okay, Miami. And then all of a sudden, we boom there, we get the whole Miami Vice situation with, Don Johnson and everything. It makes Miami again, like, okay, now this whole view of Miami and what Miami is and the Art Deco years of Miami.
The situation during the cocaine cowboys too is there was a lot of corrupt officials and
when you have that much money, it's the perfect storm for corruption. When you have a lot of money out there and a lot of people who are greedy and unscrupulous.
Money,
a lot of cash,
guns,
a lot of
and
cash.
corrupt cops.
A lot of cash.
And no supervision. Well, that Time magazine article that came, what was it?
Paradise Lost.
Paradise Lost. How was that impact when that came out?
Well, when that came out, there was a big furor among the political class. All the politicians were saying, oh, this is making us look bad. There was also a furor when Scarface came out, oh, this is going to make us look bad. And even when Miami Vice came out, but actually that all added to the mystique, to the image that people have of Miami. This is a wild place.
Intriguing. And people wanted to be intrigued. And they, they see all the boats and the fast boats and the women and the stuff and the beach. And everybody's like, I want to go there. I want to see what's going on.
Let's be honest. We live in a beautiful city.
Oh, God.
I think it's the best.
This is a beautiful city with beautiful people. And
good energy.
Fun, you can have a fun time. That doesn't mean that it's the perfect place. We have a lot of problems. There's a lot of neighborhoods here that are not seeing the prosperity that other people are seeing. So we have a lot of problems to fix, but we're still the envy of most of the world. You ask people, where would you like to go to in the United States? I'm sure a lot of people can say Miami.
Elliot, you know how I refer to us here? Oh, Miami, USA. I feel we're our own country.
And we could operate as our own country if we wanted to.
Have our own rules.
No, because I'm just saying. I mean, to your point, you have everything. You have every flavor. You have every sazon, everything from a part of the world.
Well, you know what? When you think about it, Miami is never going to be like the rest of the country, strictly based on our geography.
Yes.
The fact that we are so close to Latin America, and the fact that there's air travel and people come here from Latin America.
Sure.
This will always be an international city, a hub for Latin America, based on our geography. All you have to do is look at a map, and that'll explain it for you.
What is? I'm curious to know, what is like a day in the life of Elliot Rodriguez? Like, how do you start your day? How do you?
God, it's so exciting, huh?
It's not that exciting.
No, I mean, I think you're just.
Well, I love tennis.
There you go.
And one of the reasons I love living in South Florida is I love the outdoors. I like cycling. I've been a tennis player for a long time. So a good day for me starts, I get up in the morning, I have my coffee, and I really enjoy my coffee. Like sip it slowly.
That's me.
It's like a ritual with me. I'm not a breakfast eater, but I just enjoy my coffee. And then I go play tennis, either on Key Biscayne or belong to a club in Pinecrest, Royal Palm also. I'll play tennis, shower, grab some lunch, go to work. We have a 2:30 meeting. That's our afternoon meeting where we're talking about, all right, what are the stories today? We have our our web people. These are the stories that are doing well on the web. We have our assignment editor. These are the stories that we're on today. This is what you call vetting the news.
There
this
you
is
go.
what journalists
That's
do.
what we're talking about.
It's not
Yes.
a matter of just posting something
100%.
on social media.
Yes.
So we're having meetings. Oh, what about this story? And then we have our reporters come in pitching stories. And I always say, we don't want to cover every shooting and homicide and, fire. We want to cover stories that impact people.
Yes.
Tell me a story about people dealing with the homeowners insurance crisis,
That's a big problem.
with the HOA crisis, with their condo association that's affecting so many people.
100%.
Tell me how people are dealing with inflation. Tell me how people are now dealing with the immigration issues that are going on. Tell me those stories, because the bottom line is that's why I got into this business, to tell stories, to tell people stories. And I think that is more important than covering every single crime that happens. We're a big city. There's going to be crime.
Right. And that's, by the way, where you have people relying on you guys and relying for you to tell them that story of what's going on with the political thing and what's going on with immigration.
But do you get to select the stories you talk, or how do you guys work that out?
Okay, so it's kind of a democracy. I mean, we go in at 2:30 in the afternoon. We have our afternoon meetings with the producers, with the executive producer, with our web folks, our reporters, and our anchors. My co-anchor, Lauren Pastrana, is very smart. She's always the smartest person in the room. I say, Lauren, you're always 3 steps ahead of everybody else. Thank God that I get to work with you, because I'm not 3 steps ahead. I'm just trying to keep up.
So not, maybe we don't get it to that level, but we do get topics of situations that are happening in the city that people do want to talk about, and they put in front of our faces. More oftentimes than not, we do mention it, including things at the airport, etc. But one of the ones that I've been getting recently is the whole situation with the tax collector and the RER, that they're enforcing the 1% tourism tax on these restaurants that weren't collecting it from people. And then now these restaurants are getting, 3 years of back pay that they have to pay.
I think there's going to be a lot of
$120,000, and everyone's just up in arms about this.
Have
you reported on that?
We have, and I feel terrible for the restaurant owners, because we all know that they're getting into the season now where it's hard for them to make it.
Yeah.
And we're seeing some very good and established restaurants that have to close. So I think the cities need to find a way to compromise with these owners, because they're business people. They're small business people for the most part. And they hire people that depend on those jobs. So to now hit them with a bill of stuff that has been accumulated, they need to work together on that. I mean, the answer to a shortage of funds is not to put people out of business.
Yeah, I mean, that's been like, I've gotten DMs of people saying that they got bills for $800,000, $200,000. I'm saying we don't know what to do. We would normally pass this on to the customer, and if they said that immediately when they got that notice, they started charging the tax immediately. But then now they're billing them for 3 years back. That's ridiculous. I was gonna go back a step. You say you play tennis,
Yes.
right? And we mentioned a little bit about the pickleball tournament that we had recently.
Okay. Well, because Elliot had seen the thing that we did a pickleball tournament.
I think pickleball is wonderful. I mean, I don't play it on a regular basis, but I do play it. For example, my daughter lives in Orlando, and she lives in a community that has pickleball courts. So she has pickleball paddles and balls, and I'll go with my son-in-law and my other daughter, who was a tennis player here in Miami. She'll play with me. I think pickleball is wonderful. It's social. You're getting cardio exercise. You're outdoors. And I think, pretty sure it's been proven that people who play racket sports, tennis, pickleball, squash, you name it, they will live longer. And I believe it.
Is this why you look so good?
Yeah.
You look so
Hey,
good.
man, I'm counting on those extra 10 years.
Can we get a commitment from Elliot that he's going to join our next pickleball tournament?
I will do it.
Okay, let's do it.
But you got to give me a good partner.
We got you. Hey, right here.
It's not going to be me. It's not going to be Elliot. So I continue with these, but what can we tell our viewers? What was an interview that, out of so many hundreds have you done, what is an interview that you think that really impacted you? Like left always something for you that say, wow, that was a hell of a great interview.
Oh, a great interview. I'll tell you an interview that only lasted 2 minutes was Fidel Castro. I interviewed him on one of my trips to Cuba. I kept trying to get closer to him, and his bodyguards kept pushing me away. But one time, I think it was in 2002, I went to Cuba with Jesse Ventura, who was the governor of Minnesota, was a wrestler.
Yeah.
He was a wrestler,
Yeah.
and he became the governor. And I did get up to Castro, and I did ask him some questions about the Barela project that just came out at that time. So that was something that satisfied me. As far as an interview that stayed with me of somebody special, I'd have to think about that.
Oh wait, the interview with Fidel Castro, it was 2 minutes and out.
The interview with Fidel Castro took place in Havana. I was there covering a meeting of American farmers and businessmen who wanted to reopen business, and they were against the embargo, and they were led by Jesse Ventura, the then governor of Minnesota. And we were in the same location. Fidel Castro was there. I put my mic up and started asking him questions in Spanish, and he was a little taken aback that I could speak Spanish, and he doesn't answer questions. He didn't answer questions. Let's just put it that way. I did my best to try to get something out of him about the Varela project at the time, which was just basically a petition that Cubans signed saying, let's have an election.
Yeah.
Let's have a free and fair election. You don't have to be a member of any one party. Let's have an election. And of course, that went nowhere. And Osvaldo Payá, the guy who led it, ended up dying under mysterious circumstances.
That's crazy. What happens in Cuba a lot?
That's crazy, man.
He disappeared. I don't know where he's at.
That must have been a surreal feeling for you.
I don't know where the guy is. Okay. So, what else?
I have other stuff here.
Go ahead.
Going up a couple steps back to the whole hurricane situation, can you give us like a behind the scenes on how the news stations prepare for hurricane season? Like, we know how we prepare. How are you guys, like, what are you looking at? How's the team getting ready?
Well, we in our business have to get everything ready sooner than other people so that we can then focus on our jobs. So we will have a meeting before the start of hurricane season, and our meteorologists and our bosses will tell us, hey, take care of your house early, do whatever it needs to take, make sure your family is safe, make sure your pets are in the right place, and everything you need to do it a little bit earlier because we're going to rely on you to come in.
That's it, yeah.
And come in and
stay there
here
sometimes,
and sleep in a sleeping bag
Yeah.
with blindfolds in an office building because that's where we're staying.
Correct.
Because many times it's not safe to be driving back and forth from.
And you don't know what happens
home.
if you leave. Some tree falls, you can't get to.
We're also on. Sometimes we're on 24 hours a day. So that's all hands on deck, and we have to be there. It's just part of the job.
But how does the person that does the live in the storm, how do they get prepared, or how do they feel about that?
Well,
is that like an honor, or is it like, damn, I got picked to be the live in the storm now?
Let's be honest here. There's a lot of theatrics out there.
Okay.
You see it when you're in the storm, man. Everybody gets in the middle.
When it comes,
I'm being pushed.
I've done it. I have pictures of me in the middle of hurricanes. We've all done it. The thinking is that you're showing people the conditions that are out there.
Yeah,
but sometimes it goes a little bit too.
Yeah, no, you can see it. You can see. I laughed.
And they called Jake Tapper or somebody like that one time, like halfway, and halfway.
No, it was somebody that they got with the.
Was it Anderson or something? I don't remember.
That came out somewhere.
Man, I would love to be a fly on the wall.
But again, that shows you all the modern situation we're at now compared to what it was Hurricane Andrew. And now with the Dopplers and all these things, I mean, things like, ahead of time, like a week. I mean, listen, thank God for all these modern stuff.
You know what? We've gotten so much better at predicting the hurricanes,
100%.
but we're still not 100% there as far as at the last minute, will the storm move a little bit this way or that way? That can still happen.
Yes.
That's why we need to be prepared. And it worries me a little bit that we have so many people that are new to our community that have never been to this.
And not only the new ones.
I never think about that. That's a good point.
But not only the new ones, even the people go, oh, there they go. There they go. Because I remember there was that big one that we had, that big blob that everybody was like, is it coming? Is it not coming? Everybody was prepared. And it was going to be a catastrophic. And then I was like, it moved.
Right.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, 24 hours before, it just went up a little bit north. And there it goes. We just got a little bit of wind, a little bit of rain.
Do you know what drives me crazy when I see people who say, oh, there's a storm, I'm driving out of here?
Yeah.
I say, that's the dumbest thing you could possibly do. How many times have we seen people get on the turnpike to drive north for a storm that all of a sudden changed course and is going towards them?
It happened.
And then
that's when that happened. Everybody started going to Tampa, and then the storm went down. Everybody was driving back.
Exactly. And then you're stuck on the turnpike. You can't get gas. You're frustrated.
Yeah.
And you want to get back home because the storm didn't come your way. It could be going the way that you're headed.
It is.
Look at Asheville, North Carolina. Who would have thought that Asheville, North Carolina, one of my personal favorite cities, would be hit by what eventually, essentially was a hurricane.
Yeah.
And they're still dealing with that.
Everything.
So don't try to outrun a storm.
Yeah.
Prep your house. Make sure that your house is safe, that you're in a safe place with your loved ones.
Yeah.
And stay put.
Yep.
I love it. I love it.
I have more if you want to ask.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I'm curious to know, not to be political or anything, but obviously we have Trump now. He just got elected this last year. Trump has taken a position with the media that's very different than anybody else. Even the press secretary has taken a different position. You being on the side of the media, I wanted to get some insight on how you feel that the administration approaches the media, and kind of like, in some cases, I feel like they may be combative, but I think they're in the right to kind of push back because of the history of how they've been covered. So I just wanted to get some insight on you from that position.
Well, first of all, I never thought that I would be called the enemy of the people. That was very disturbing. I didn't like that. I think that Trump attacks the media just like he does attack other institutions that we have in this country, the courts, the legislative branch. Anybody who he perceives as an enemy is attacked. But when you think about it, the media really helped put him there, because
100%.
I remember when he was first running that CNN would be airing his rallies.
Yeah.
And I said, wait, we don't normally air rallies. And they would say, oh, yeah, this guy, we're not taking him seriously, but he's so much fun to watch. And people loved it. And the ratings were high.
Yeah,
absolutely. It was all ratings.
Yeah.
Well,
and he brought in ratings. And that's really what catapulted Donald Trump, in my opinion, is the media, free media coverage that he got.
because
He's a genius
at that's what I was going to say.
using the media and branding.
Mhm.
So kudos to him for doing that. Do I consider myself an enemy of the people? Absolutely not. Do I like the fact that there is that tension between the executive branch of government and the media? No, it shouldn't be that way. Our job is to keep an eye on the politicians, to make sure that people know what they're doing and what the impact of that is. And I think that we have to cover whoever is in the White House the same way.
Yeah.
We should cover Donald Trump the same way we covered Joe Biden, or the same way we covered Barack Obama. It's a little harder because he makes it me against you situation, but we have to do our job.
You know, but in that retrospect, that has all changed so much. It's not what it used to be anymore. It's not when I was growing up and you would see, like, you know, a Sam Donaldson or anybody like a Peter Jennings, you know, asking these questions, you know, during the Reagan or during the Carter years. I mean, it's totally different. The whole landscape just has changed. So, I mean, it also shows the different ways of
Communication
networks, and if you know how it's only human how some networks, you know, favored maybe one more candidate, the other candidate. So I think that where we are today with this whole thing of the media, it has also exposed other things of
But I think
you know, within people inside the networks. You know what I'm saying?
Door for new media to come in.
Yes.
Now the press secretary has a new media seat, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah,
you
for
know?
podcaster,
Cool,
she
you know?
has it for
I'm all
social
for that.
media.
100% for that.
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
pretty neat.
100%.
If people are getting their news from podcasts, put podcasters in there.
So start asking
People are getting
questions.
their news from another source. Put that source in
Yeah.
there to ask questions. But the traditional media still plays a very important role. And I go back to saying that because our content is then used over and over again by other platforms.
But you know that's illegal for them to like.
They still do it.
Yeah, they still do it because I've done it before. But how do you guys feel about that?
All right. Well, okay. We're expecting a charge any minute now.
Cease and desist. How do you guys feel about that?
Just don't say what
it does
station.
benefit you at the end of the day, no? You don't care.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. I'll give you an example. I did a series about slums in Overtown when I worked at WTVJ in 1981. I was in my 20s. I was a kid. Those stories are alive and well right now on YouTube. Tens of thousands of people watch it. I get notifications all the time. People still commenting on pieces that I did back in 1981, like 40-something years ago. And if somebody took that and put it online, more. Thank you. I would like to thank that person
Yeah.
because it's getting more exposure. The bottom line is I'm doing my work so that people can see it. If people
That's
don't
it.
see it, that's not a good thing. If more people can see it, fantastic.
And it's history.
I'm for
A
it.
good train of thought. A lot of people don't think like that. A lot of people are saying that you're taking the monetization away from me, but you have a different train of thought that actually ends up growing your public image more.
But he has the intellectual train
Yeah.
of thought. Because it's the correct one.
You have to remember that even though CBS, and let's say it the truth, corporate media, we are owned by a corporation, but I am not part of the business side of it.
Yeah.
I had a general manager a long time ago tell me, Elliot, you worry about news, I'll worry about ratings.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's great. That's what I want to hear.
But not many of them are like that.
It's harder and harder.
Yeah.
Why? Because the margins have closed. It's a whole new ball game.
whole new
Back
ball
then,
game.
we didn't have.
And my wife's in media, so I know the pressure she has.
Back then, we didn't have media that was aiming at a particular audience.
Yep.
You know, you have the conservative channel, you have the liberal channel, you have
Yep.
this. We just had
It's crazy how
networks. We had
But-
news media.
That's what I'm saying.
crazy.
That's what I'm saying. During those years, from now, how everything has changed.
Right.
You know?
We become more polarized, and that I feel
It's
so
unfortunate.
That saddens me so much because I think what makes us great is that Americans can disagree,
Yeah.
come to a conclusion, try to find some kind of common ground, and at the end of the day, shake hands and say, "All right, congratulations to you. Let's work
But
together."
I
That's how it
fault
should be.
everybody. I fault both sides because it's you know, it's gotten to a point that people say, well, you see, you know, what happened with this? You know, what do you think about this? And why were you reporting about that? Okay, was this debunked? It was debunked now. Okay, so what do you think about that? Oh, I don't care. I still don't like this person. Or I don't. You know,
polarized.
it's very polarized. And then
I don't pick my friends based on
100%.
I don't pick my friends
Neither
based
do I.
on political views.
50% of them wouldn't be my friends.
My brother is a 2-time war veteran, Afghan, and he's, you know, he lives in California. He's to the, you know, very left.
He's still your brother.
He's still my brother, and I
Yeah.
talked to him. And I'm more
Right.
central.
Right.
And
But you
we
went
have-
down from what? From 5 days to 2 days a week.
No. And we have these talks of just sharing memes with each other, and it's super funny. But at the end of the day, we always say, I love you, bro. You know,
Right.
It's always the same, you know.
Listen, this is exactly what happened in Cuba, by the way. If you go back, you know, political views. One man came in and divided families. You know what I'm saying? So to your point, your father left, your brother stayed. That happened to my dad. My dad left and his brother stayed.
Right.
You know, and then they realized it when some of them came in Maria and they go, oh, we got to get the hell out of here. So again, one person can come and divide a family.
That's
And
crazy.
it's happened.
We need
and
to
it's
find-
sad.
We need to find ways to unify,
Right.
to work together,
Correct.
and realize, hey, we're all in the same boat. We're
Right.
all, we're all Americans.
100%.
We need to find a person that comes and unifies us too, you know, like this. It does. We do need someone.
You know
like
what? I
that,
think we're a little far. It's I don't know. We've gotten to a point that whoever is going to be in one place or the other, they're going to find something they don't like about this person. And they're
You know,
gonna like about
it's
this
crazy.
person.
I thought that Elon Musk was kind of like, you know, both sides. Everyone kind of like, you know, I thought he would be, but at all, you know, they just tore this guy apart. He's like, hey, I'm stepping back, right?
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. Well, but that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go.
No. You have a pad there with 94
Well, you
questions.
asked me about my typical day,
Yeah.
Yes.
and I only got to the meeting.
Yes.
You got to
Okay,
the meeting.
wanna pick it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, pick it up. Well, I just want to know what coffee you're drinking in the morning. Is it just regular American coffee or café con leche?
That's a good question.
You know, I'm curious.
And you know what? The older I get, I don't know about you guys, but the older I get, the more set I am in my habits, right? So I
get you.
I have regular American coffee in the morning.
Yep.
And like I said, I enjoy the hell out of that coffee. It takes
Yes.
me a while. I just sit. And now that I live in Brickell, right on the water, I just sit there staring at Biscayne Bay.
Right there,
Drinking
beautiful.
my,
You're
drinking
about-
my American coffee.
There you go.
But then when I get to work in the afternoon, it's cafecito time. We have certain people at our station who are really good at making
Café cubano.
cafecito.
Coladita.
The
That's
fir-
what happens here.
Yep.
This is exactly what happens here.
I'm good at it. I don't want them to know because I don't want to be the one to have to
Oh,
make.
And it takes like 15 minutes to make.
By the way, Elliot, before you go on the air, could you do a little coladita?
Coladita.
For
Hey, I knew about Espumita a long
yeah,
time.
a long time.
So-
ago. Who didn't know about the secret about the little bit? You know, everybody now on the TikTok. This is how you do Cuban coffee. You
It's a
drip
younger
little
generation,
bit,
though.
Our grandmas were doing that
please,
decades ago.
come on.
So I knew you get there. So and you start your first show is at 5.
5 o'clock. So our first newscast is at 5 o'clock. I am blessed to have a great co-anchor, Lauren Pastrana, who is just smart, hard worker, very good journalist, and a great partner. I'm very thankful to work with Lauren. Lauren, if you're watching, Thank you.
We got to get Lauren on.
Yes,
No,
we have the 5 o'clock show. We have the 6 o'clock newscast. The 5:30 is anchored by Jim Barry and Naja Sherman. Jim has been here for a long time.
Yeah.
He did sports. He gravitated over to news. And then I do the 11 o'clock news. The 11 o'clock news is over at 11:35. At 11:36, I'm in my car
Getting back
going home. I get home late. And when my wife and I were first married, she would wait up for me. That doesn't happen anymore.
No, that's done already.
watching you on TV and
That's
chow.
done already.
She's asleep.
Yeah. Do not
Is
not
every-
bother me.
Is the 5 and the 6 and the 11, are they just reruns, or you're just
No.
talking about different?
No, and I complain about that. Guys, we had that story already. We try to change it up, but it's usually what are the top, for 11, it's usually what are the top stories of the day. So there's going to be.
Well,
So
remember, some people
repetition.
didn't see the news at 5. I don't see the news at 5.
There's repetition. But you know what's great? You don't have to watch the news at 5, 6, or 11. We're online.
Correct.
You can find us.
Do you ever give like personal notes, like, closing out today, Elliot suggests, or anything like that? Or
No, the
all
other
news
day,
related?
the other day we had a story about a new park in Shenandoah.
I saw, yeah.
And I said, because my producer, Camilla Venero, went to Shenandoah Middle School, and I went to Shenandoah Junior High. So I did a shout out to Shenandoah Junior High.
Oh, that's
When-
nice.
when
Like we did now to LaSalle.
Yeah.
And then LaSalle.
Well,
Oh, I do a lot for LaSalle.
If you find it in your heart to give a shout out to the podcast,
Absolutely.
hey, just follow my guys, stay tuned, You probably get a little letter from the station. Hey,
100%. We don't have an agreement here.
I,
We don't have
I
a-
love what you guys are doing.
I
Keep
appreciate
doing
it. I appreciate it. All right. I have a couple more.
Go ahead.
Advice for someone studying journalism, investigative journalism, or trying to, find a career path in the same way that you have. What would you give them right now at this day and age?
Well, the business has changed a lot from when I started. When I started, it was, print was big.
Yes.
And then there was television.
Mm-hmm.
And there was kind of a way that you became a reporter in a small market, and then you work your way up. I was lucky that my first job was in Miami, which is considered a big market. So I was the exception to the rule. So that's how it was back in the day. Now everything is different. Everything has changed. Everything is put together a reel while you're in school that you can then put and then send out to get stories. I always say be involved in whatever activities your college has. Like when I went to Miami-Dade College, I was on the newspaper staff. When I went to the University of Miami, I was on the staff of the Miami Hurricane. They have schools have television stations, have radio stations, have now probably not old-fashioned newspapers, but a website where they give news.
Yep.
University of Miami Hurricane website does great, has broken some really good stories.
Wow.
So get that experience, do an internship. I did an internship my senior year when I was at the University of Miami, and it led to my first job. And I think going to school here in Miami as opposed to Tallahassee or Gainesville, nothing against them because I have daughters who went to both schools, excellent schools. But when you're in Miami, you have an advantage that you're already in a big city. You could do an internship while you're here.
I tell that
You
to
don't
my
have
daughter all
wait
the time.
till the summer. So there's an advantage of being here in Miami. You're already in a big market, and you have that advantage. But you have to be willing to move. You have to be willing, in order to move up, you need to move out sometimes and go to a smaller market. I went to Philadelphia, which is a bigger market, in the 80s, and it was a great career move for me because I got anchoring experience and I was able to come back here. And I had opportunities to leave Miami and do network jobs, and I didn't take them because, for me, the most important thing was having my family here, and I didn't want to be, separated from them. I always said to myself that I will not let my job determine my happiness. My happiness will be determined by my family situation, doing what I like to do, and being in a place that I like to be. And that's been my mantra.
That's amazing.
Great.
That's amazing.
Great. That's
On
awesome.
that point, Father's Day is coming up.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna clip up one of these teasers.
Yeah.
Right. He has a beautiful daughter, Mirana. She's about to graduate high school soon. My daughter's going to school in New York. Victoria Moya. I wanted to get some Father's Day thoughts from you for the public.
Well, I would say to you that no one is a bigger girl dad than me. I have 4 daughters
Wow.
and 2 stepdaughters.
Wow.
I always crack this joke. I say that I have 4 daughters, 2 stepdaughters, 2 ex-wives, a wife, and a sister.
Quite a resume, man.
I'm kind of I've had to bite my tongue a lot, and I don't win many
Elliot, it's
arguments.
safe to say that we're going to continue working.
Yeah.
No, you know what? They're all grown.
Oh, okay, good, good.
Out of
good,
the
good.
6 girls, 4 of them are married. They have kids, and so I feel accomplished as
So
well.
many grandkids.
Right now we have 4.
Okay, that's good.
4, yeah. So after all those girls, now we have 4 boys.
Finally.
God is kind. God is finally kind.
Those are going to be the
But,
tennis pros.
The advice that I have to dads out there with girls is, first of all, you're so lucky. Yeah. Girls are great, and they're close to their dads. You guys know this, right?
Yes.
And there comes a point where the girl will knock heads with the mom. And they will, usually the teenage years, the mom and the daughter will run into a few rough spots, but eventually she will turn into her mom.
Yes.
For real?
Yeah.
When they grow up, they become just like their mom.
Yeah.
Well,
That's what I have found.
For me, it was a little bit opposite. For me, it was friction between me and her during her teenage years, and now she's turning into her dad. Right. And I always told her, "You're gonna find out sooner or later." You know.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
But it's been beautiful. It's a beautiful journey.
I think they turn to their fathers always like to be the mediator and the guy that can, you know, what's your thought?
Yes.
Right. You know, I mean, I'm lucky enough that with mine, she counts on me for everything. I mean, even if she's gonna wear a dress, you know, she'll mom's advice, mom will get it, whatever, and she goes, "Wait, where's my dad? What do you think about this? I really don't like that." And she goes, "Oh, okay." You know, and she'll, you know, some other girls are saying, "No, I just go with my mom."
No, but I mean, I was a spitting image of you.
You know, I mean, well, both of us.
Like physically, Denise, but like personality-wise, I think she has a lot like you.
You know, so basically, you know, I'm blessed until I don't know when that's going to change. But you know, to your point, I think that's awesome, especially you know, you having the experience of having
that's
6
a lot of girls, man.
Yeah.
You know,
You know what, guys? I think if we raise them right, things will turn
100%.
out.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of love, a lot of patience, a lot of understanding, and not imposing rules.
I agree.
That in many cases are not realistic and were not rules that we followed.
Correct.
Although
I struggle with that.
Well, because,
Although we want to protect our little girls.
yes,
I mean, that's
you
most
do. But a lot has changed.
Yeah.
You know, from our time.
Right.
I mean, listen, and I know you can attest to this, and I tell this one all the time. When I was growing up, I see things now, and I feel bad for my parents, what I made them go through.
Yes.
Because
how?
I would leave, and I would have to leave with a roll of quarters to stop in a payphone.
Yep.
Because there wasn't a beeper, there wasn't a phone, there wasn't a pager, there wasn't Life 360, there wasn't all these
No
things.
GPS.
No GPS. Now, actually, I mean, where's your daughter? Where's it? Oh,
Beep.
okay.
She's here right now.
Still at the school. Okay, perfect. Oh, wait, she's going up. Letter. Hey, phone saying you're going 65, 75. You better slow down. You know, I mean, they have really no life because you're being, you know, you're like.
But are you really
are you
tracking the Maya powers, bro?
The Life 360
tell me that.
tells you how fast you're going and everything.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, they can tell you.
That's a lot of worrying.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, I'm saying, you know,
I just do that
sometimes-
tracking. I know where she's at in the general
Right.
area, and I see.
But that Life 360 even tells you, like, you know, if she almost came into like a hit or a crash or something.
My daughter's crashed like 3 times. Little bumper, fender.
I've been lucky.
I go outside, I look, I'm like.
But I tell you, I don't know if that's good or bad, Elliot. I don't know if that's good or bad to know all this information now.
Well, we turned out okay. Our parents weren't hovering over us.
No, well,
24 hours?
True, it's true.
she couldn't. I would call her maybe at 2, and she goes, "Where are you?" "Oh, we just finished the beach. We're gonna go to Denny's now. We're gonna go eat.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep,
Oh,
yep.
okay,
Versailles.
or something. Now get back at 6. Oh no, we have I'm going to so and so's house now at 7.
Exactly how it was.
You know, it's Thursday night. Where are you headed? Oh, I'm headed to Palo Bar. You know, it's like, what the heck? Now it's all this information that they know everything's going on. So you know,
talking about eating.
okay, we're gonna
Go for it.
No, you go for it. You're gonna put them on the spot.
Oh,
put it on
my
the spot.
favorite subject.
All right. Give us, we ask this to every guest. It could be what you're feeling right now. It doesn't have to be
Or your
anything.
to goes
Yep.
or to go places.
All right, so give us your top 3 restaurants. Start from 3 to 2 to 1.
My
Your
top
3 and why.
My top start with at the
Number
top.
3.
Start the
3.
at the
Yeah,
three?
start at the bottom.
Oh man,
Your
at the
two-
bottom.
You can go to your you know.
What is this, Drake? We're at the bottom. We're at the bottom now. We're here.
Okay. Because you're a media figure, we're going to let you, just your favorite 3.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
there
Okay.
you go.
All right. Let me start at the top. Joe Stone Crab.
Yes, yeah.
And I don't need to look at the menu when I go to Joe's.
Absolutely.
I know I want the selects. I know I want the grilled tomatoes.
There
I
you
know I want the hash browns. I know I want the key lime pie.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
want a nice old fashioned. And
Okay.
man, that could be my last meal.
I feel like it's we could go and drink with
But
him, man.
Absolutely. I mean, there's nothing like those tomatoes.
Yeah.
I've tried to do those damn tomatoes. Tell me you haven't tried to do the tomatoes like Joe.
No, we make them at home.
Really?
I'll give you the recipe. I will text you the recipe.
I mean,
It could be done. It could be done.
Number
people
two.
tell me- I know people tell me the secret is a little nutmeg.
Don't get none of that processed cheese. Get some real cheddar cheese.
Yes. Okay. Go.
Number two.
Number two, we live in Brickell now, and we've tried practically every restaurant in Brickell. And to be honest with you, I haven't been all that impressed. But the one that I love is Le Petit Maison. It's a French restaurant,
My
LPM.
wife's favorite.
It's walking
LPM.
distance from us, and that is fantastic.
Yes, it is.
If I were to pick a third favorite restaurant, I'm sad to say that it's closing, Fiola.
Oh, wow.
Gables, but
Yeah.
Tom, the
Tom,
owner,
correct.
tells me that he's going to
Steakhouse.
reopen it as a steakhouse. And I
what it
said,
is.
Tom, I'll be there.
We're all gonna
Let's do it.
I'll be there.
We'll go have a drink there.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, he's gonna do little modifications.
Yes.
I was just there last Thursday for an event for Dr. Moss. He does a great organization. Shout out to Dr. Moss and the Moss organization. But you know, I get it. You know, he wants to do the new thing with the steak.
Well, they had a Michelin star too. The
which
one up
is
north.
Correct.
The
Right.
steakhouse had a Michelin
I haven't
star.
been to it, but
Right.
I've heard good
So they're
things.
bringing that down.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which, by the way, I know we say this all the time. We're gonna have to just do. I don't know. We'll get Elliot involved.
I would love to go and have some
We're gonna get a
drinks, man.
sprinter.
Absolutely.
We're gonna get a sprinter and do a
A little
time
tour.
in Fort Lauderdale with the restaurants. There's so many restaurants in Fort Lauderdale.
Yes.
So many restaurants in Fort
Well,
Lauderdale.
actually, right there on Las Olas,
Yes.
Louis Bossi, the Italian restaurant. Have you
heard.
guys been there? It's
I-
very
I've
good.
heard. I've
No,
heard.
there's great restaurants.
Yeah, we really
You know
need
what-
the Gables, man. That's
But you know,
No, I do. I go around.
You know what I do? That's great. Let's do it one day. Take the Bright Line from downtown Miami
yeah.
to Fort Lauderdale or Palm Beach and have lunch
So what,
there.
why don't we do a podcast? One of those
On the train?
on the train, and we can start and we can hit the foodie places.
You know what?
We can cover for a day, man,
I
in
wanted to talk to the
CBS
Bright Line.
4.
I had to talk to the Bright Line, but I think they'll allow us to do that. I don't think there'll be a
You
problem.
know, I mean, think about it. We
That'd
can
be
do it
cool.
right there in the bright. I think that'd be wonderful. You know, taking the show and trying all these great restaurants. We obviously have to carry Kiko around. I'm not carrying him.
No.
Oh, we have to take Kiko.
Kiko's a trip.
You know what I'm saying? He has to get some stickers out there. But Elliot, let me tell you something.
Real pleasure.
We need you back.
Yeah.
And I want you back because we're gonna do.
Honestly, this is one of my favorite.
I'm gonna start doing some of these little Throwback Thursday programs.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And we wanna, because a lot of our viewers love the history.
They do.
Love the history. of
Nostalgic
Miami.
feeling gets shared a lot.
You know, and history helps you understand why things are happening, right?
And where Miami is today.
Exactly.
You know?
How we ended up here. Look at the history. A lot of times it's history that's repeating itself, right? I know it's a
100%.
cliche, but it's true.
And I do have to shout out that, and you know this, my ex-boss and my ex-mentor was part of that. You know what I'm saying?
Maurice Ferre, a
So,
great man
You know,
and
so-
a visionary.
Oh.
And
and you were always there, and he loved, when you were interviewing him, and you did a great job during the park ceremony when we did the park
it
ceremony.
was a great honor for me to MC the event where they named Maurice Ferre Park
Yes.
after him.
Yeah.
And he was there with his family, and that was just a tremendous moment. I'm so
Yeah.
glad that I was there.
See for some of the events that we do.
Absolutely, 100%.
That'd be awesome,
Yeah.
man.
I mean, so again, this is an open invitation.
Hey, thanks,
You
man.
know, when you have time, you come over here. We're going to chat about more history stuff.
All right, guys.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you.
We'll save the next one.
Adios.